And that means for all those killed and for their families, justice is unlikely to be done. Richard Galpin, BBC News.
Let's talk now to Nick Vamos, who's a partner at Peters & Peters Solicitors and former head of extradition at the Crown Prosecution Service. He joins us now from Surrey. Hi there, Nick. Thanks for being with us. And let's just pick up on that point that Richard Galpin made at the end there. There's not a hope in hell's chance of these characters being extradited to Holland, is there?
Sadly not, no. Russia doesn't extradite its own citizens. It's very clear on that, and Ukraine is the same. That's not actually an unusual position for a country to take. Many other countries follow the same policy. The quid pro quo, of course, is that a country that refuses to extradite its own nationals would prosecute them itself instead. The problem we have here, which is the same problem that was with the Litvinenko case and the Skripal poisoning, is that, of course, we don't trust the Russians to do that. So it's not as if the Dutch prosecutors would hand their evidence over to the Russians and ask them to prosecute the case. So there's a legal impasse.
Given that, then, explain the significance of holding the trial anyway in absentia.
Well, the significance to the victims, the families of the victims, I should say, and to the criminal justice system as a whole is that you can still hold people accountable. You can still show that the evidence was there. That evidence can be properly tested. A verdict can be returned, and the public can see that a fair process was followed. And if the suspects and the state that protects them doesn't engage in that process, then they can still be held accountable. Unfortunately, they can't be punished.
Yeah, that's the big problem here, isn't it? I mean, what kind of pressure might be put behind the scenes on the Russians to try to yield in this, although it's probably likely it's not going to work?
Well, as I said, there's no legal solution, unfortunately. There's a real impasse there. So one has to look at diplomatic and political measures which could be brought to bear, sanctions and so forth. I mean, these things have all been tried before in other high-profile cases. The death toll, of course, in the MH17 atrocity is massive compared to the other two cases I mentioned, Litvinenko and Skripal. So you can see that the pressure is there, but I mean, I'm sure the Russian state will just continue to deny, as they always have done. I don't think it will make a shred of difference, unfortunately.
And the Dutch prosecutors laying out the evidence today, very, very detailed, very comprehensive, and certainly they would argue overwhelmingly putting forward the case that these four men are responsible.
Yes, and the importance of that, of course, is that it would show up as the lie or the sort of dissembling that it is on the Russian state's part, where they say that this is fake news or that this is an unfair process, that they weren't allowed to participate and so forth. So to return to your earlier question, another reason that this should be done openly and publicly is so that the public can see the truth. They can see the evidence for themselves and reach their own conclusions and not allow a sort of a Russian counter-narrative to prevail.
Sure. Okay. Nick Vamos, former head of extradition at the CPS. Thanks for joining us, Nick. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, an investigation